Hello and welcome to Prime Business. I am your host, Emma Davis. To the details, the World Bank has today approved a $250 million credit from the International Development Association and a $10 million grant from the Energy Sector Management Assistance Program for a 4-year Ghana Energy Sector Recovery Program for Results, also known as the P4R. The following report has more.
P4R will support Ghana's energy sector recovery program to improve the financial viability of electricity distribution and increase access to clean cooking solutions. Electricity distribution losses are high in Ghana due to a low collection rate and below-cost recovery tariffs, undermining the operational and financial performance of energy utilities in the country. The government of Ghana transfers about 2% of GDP annually to cover the energy sector's financial shortfall. The P4R complements regulatory and policy reforms of the energy sector supported under the World Bank's Development Policy Finance Series and the ongoing IMF Extended Credit Facility Program for Ghana.
Former Minister of Finance Ken Ofori-Atta is pushing for West African economies to abandon their quest to introduce the single currency, the ECO, for the region. ECOWAS was forced in 2021 to push back the introduction of the currency to 2027 due to the outbreak of COVID-19. But Mr. Ofori-Atta is of the view that most of the countries are not committed to the single currency drive. He spoke to Joy Business's George Rafe on the sidelines of Afri-Exim annual meetings happening in Bahamas.
But I think we just have to fundamentally understand that when rules are made, stakeholders at the table ensure that their concerns are met. We're talking about a system of a global financial infrastructure that was put in place just post World War II, in which African representation might have been Ethiopia maybe or Egypt at the last minute. So it could not have reflected the needs, nor could the world have also anticipated that sources of funds are going to be more in the private sector than in sovereigns. So in and of itself, that's not, give you a platform to say that we shouldn't question it, and it's because we are not doing things right, that's what it is. So that should be, the context should be laid well. And then you look at the various financial crises that have occurred since then, indicating that the system was not robust enough to do that. So what is wrong with a reassessment of how the system is and how it can better reflect the nature of the population, the wealth and the natural resources that we have.
Honorable, finally on the ECO, a myth or a reality, some would say?
ECO has been difficult with all, just the capacity of we 16 countries in ECOWAS to come to a convergence point where we all fulfill the criteria seems very elusive. And I think really the issue of payment systems, digitalization, being efficient, and therefore supporting AFCFTA will lead to maybe the type of results that we require.
It means that we should forget about the ECO and focus on these other systems that will promote the real integration that we are looking forward to.
Well, if you look at East Asia, they didn't really end up having one currency, but really increased trade and also got their payment systems in an effective way. And that's a model that has worked, that maybe we could, under the leadership of Afri-Exim Bank, facilitate. And of all of these fintech companies being sandboxed in the central banks, I think we'll come up with apps that makes it more efficient for us.
Meanwhile, finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amoah, is urging African economies to focus on improving the African Continental Free Trade Area to realize its full potential. Speaking on Business Live, Dr. Benjamin Amoah said African economies should rather invest in the harmonization of trade in the region.
The continent itself has adopted AFTA, and we are looking at how best we can integrate from the continent level all the economies of Africa. So if AFTS can give us what we need, then why don't we rather put in the effort from the AFTA initiative and achieve it at a continental level if a single currency will not work? If you look at monetary unions, a few years ago, Britain got out of, the European Union. Gibraltar also got out. So countries that at a point in time feel that these economic unions do not help, have all that it takes to move out. So if even before we go into it, we are having challenges and we have not been successful because of obvious reasons, countries are not committed to go by the criteria, why don't we think about what next to do, which is to focus on the big goal, which is the African Continental Free Trade Agreement and area, and let's benefit from the harmonization of trade and services through that particular channel. From that score, I will say that it is better if we put the ECO call aside and then work towards the economic integration of the whole of Africa. It may look big, but then we stand more to benefit. Because like I said, none of the 7 regional economic blocs have been successful at having its own currency. So it is not strange that we are struggling as West Africa to have the ECO.
Government has assured that it will be prudent with expenditure in the coming months to help sustain inflation decline. It believes this, together with other programs the Bank of Ghana is implementing, may help achieve the end-of-year inflation target of 13%. Abna Osei-Asare is Minister of State at the Finance Ministry.
The current Minister for Finance has stated clearly that in this year, the 2024 year, where we have an election, we are going to live within our means. And he's doing everything possible, not just by word of mouth, but the practical aspect, or the implementation aspect is happening. What we're doing is that we are making sure we don't build, on arrears. We are living within what we have, and we are also propelling GRA, or encouraging GRA to go all out and raise the needed revenue. And so we're doing that. And again, when you look at the components of inflation, food inflation plays a very important role in that. So we're working on the food inflation bit, and that is what is also bearing some fruits. Because previously, I think food inflation, the component of food inflation's contribution to inflation was, I think, a little above 40%. With the phase 2 of the Planting for Food and Jobs, it seeks to not just provide tools, provide seeds and fertilizer, but also look at encouraging the farmer to increase the land size. And so these are some of the interventions we are putting in place to make sure you don't just grow, but you grow in abundance, to check food security and also to help reduce the cost of food. Again, government is giving hope to the people through the implementation of quite a number of initiatives, especially for the youth, in terms of skills, in terms of support, giving them starter packs. So it is bringing back that hope. And now most of our youth are also engaged in activities that is bringing in some form of money to them, and also improving the way the general business atmosphere in the country is. Yes, we saw some depreciation in the level of the cedi against its major trading partners, but quickly Bank of Ghana is doing its part, as well as the Ministry of Finance, to make sure that the demand for forex is for critical things. 2, there's availability for forex demand, and then 3, we're working together with all and sundry to make sure that we at least produce what we have to eat or what we have to consume to bring the pressure down on the demand for forex.
The Ghana Shippers Authority has told Joy Business it is engaging all stakeholders at the ports to streamline trade activities and reduce the cost of imports. The authority says it is working to reduce charges through an amendment to the Shippers Act. Fred Esiedu-Date is the head of Business Development and Commercial Services at the authority.
the Ghana Shippers Authority was established by NRCD 254 of 1974. This is some 50 years ago. Obviously, the framers of the law did not anticipate some of the technological changes, some of the dynamics that our industry has faced over the years. And consequently, the Ministry of Transport is leading the process of reviewing the Ghana Shippers Authority Act. And some of the key areas are, to address the arbitrary charges that we have in our system. We also are focusing on trying to ensure that instead of going through a negotiation process, we have a certain agreed tariff that is approved. And so we can introduce into the system some level of certainty and predictability. That is what business thrives on. And so the focus is to ensure that there is some level of certainty in the cost and charges space. One other thing we are seeking to do with this amendment is to have coverage for transit trade. Because even though the Ghana Shippers Authority has been in the forefront addressing and leading transit issues, that has not found expression in our establishment or enabling act.
Some stakeholders within Ghana's health sector are bemoaning the high import charges on some equipment. According to the Deputy Programs Manager for Non-Communicable Diseases at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Wallace Olenu, government should consider waiving some of these nuisance taxes to support importers and the health sector at large. He was speaking at the Trust Hospital's Cancer Care Academy event.
It is estimated that health expenditure reached $2.3 billion in 2020, representing 3% of GDP. Health expenditure has fallen with a compound annual growth rate of negative 3.4% since 2015. It is estimated that per capita health expenditure reached $61.4 billion in 2020. Around 58% of expenditure is met by the private sector. These health sector players say more needs to be done to save the sector.
There are so many gaps in our healthcare system that needs to be bridged if we want to be able to serve our cancer patients adequately. And our theme, closing the care gap and advancing care through education and collaboration, is a call to action. So I hope that by the end of the 3 days, we'll have actionable strategies to be able to implement so that our patients at the end of the day will see some light. So I'd like to talk briefly about some of the gaps in the health system. So from service delivery to health workforce to information and even financing for healthcare, there's a huge gap. We know some of the cancers are supposedly on the insurance. However, if you speak to some of the patients, they will tell you of the challenges in accessing some of these. So we need to have a roundtable discussion and actually discuss and find out exactly what some of these insurance covers.
Chief Executive Officer of the Trust Hospital, Juliana Oye-Ameh, called for more collaborative effort between the private and the public sector.
According to the Global Observatory Report 2022, Ghana registered 27,385 new cancer cases in 2022, and that is also huge. And this same report indicated that the top 3 cancers affecting men in Ghana are prostate cancer, liver cancer, and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, while breast cancer, cervical cancer, and ovarian cancer are the top 3 cancers affecting women in Ghana.
12 June was marked as World Day Against Child Labor. Some reports suggest that child labor exists in Ghana's cocoa sector, an assertion the Cocoa Board has debunked. According to the International Cocoa Initiative, about 1.56 million children are engaged in child labor in Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire. The following report takes a look at what Asitnapa Cooperative Cocoa Farming and Marketing Society Limited has been doing as it commemorates the day. The vast majority of cocoa in West Africa is grown by smallholder farmers. These households face the realities of rural poverty, such as scarcity of land, food insecurity, limited access to quality education, lack of access to drinking water, and inadequate health services. These factors increase the risk of child labor. In a bid to raise awareness about the menace, Asitinapa Cooperative Cocoa Farming and Marketing Society Limited organized a health walk in Durban to mark this year's World Day Against Child Labor in Nankese, Suhum. Mike Arthur, Country Director for International Cocoa Initiative, explained why World Day Against Child Labor is important.
This is a very special day because children are a vulnerable group. They have dreams, they have aspirations, but a lot of things are militating against them. And one of them is child labor. In the wisdom of international organizations, they always set aside a special day to commemorate children. And so it is important that we recognize what children go through, what is needed to help them so that they will be able to achieve their dreams and aspirations.
Rian Van Doveren, General Manager of Tony's Open Chain under Tony Chocoloni, one of the biggest cocoa processors worldwide, highlighted what the company is doing to minimize child labor in Ghana.
As a cooperative and as partners, we work very closely together to set up CLMRS systems, to make sure that we really monitor what is happening with the households, to identify the cases of child labor, and to also offer ways out of child labor, so remediation services. So this is something that we're very committed to. We are also working in pilot projects and approaches to see how can we look at the broader community, not just in cocoa, but beyond, to see how can we actually address the entire landscape and community to work together. We believe it's critical that we work together with the farmers, with the cooperative, with the community, with the government, and with us as a stakeholder in the cocoa chain.
In October 2023, Fair Trade launched the Children in Rural Communities Are Learning and Empowered project. The Circle project is an initiative that focuses on children's rights in the Ghanaian cocoa sector. President of Asitinapa Cooperative Cocoa Farming and Marketing Society Limited, Mark Ayivo, disclosed that stakeholders are beginning to appreciate child labor issues because of the project.
The Circle project is very, very helpful. You see, earlier on, people does not understand the child labor and then forced labor. Now, through the Circle project, people are trying to understand actually what we mean.
The World Day Against Child Labor celebration brought together farmers, pupils, regulators, opinion leaders, and NGOs working within Ghana's cocoa value chain. Today on Entrepreneur in You, Dr. Maxwell Ampon takes us through a practical way to approach your break-even point.
Break-even point is very important because it allows us to learn or to be able to calculate when we start making money. Hello, today we speak about our break-even point. And the books will tell you that your break-even is calculated by your fixed cost divided by your selling price minus the variable cost. But today I want us to be more practical about it. So Kwame just told me that he used to buy books to sell. Let's say Kwame bought 100 books for 1,000 cedis. Not necessarily 100 books for 1,000 cedis. He bought 100 books, got home and realized he had spent 1,000 cedis. So his food, his transportation, his credits, everything costs 1,000 cedis. Kwame intends to sell these books at 20 Ghana cedis per book. Now your break-even point, it's one way to calculate how many books do I have to sell before Metemeka, before I'll be able to break even, before I'll be able to recoup the money that I've invested into the business. And in this instance, for 20 books, you'd have to sell 50 in order to recoup the 1,000. So the break-even point is very important because it allows us to learn or to be able to calculate when we start making money. It might be, selling and making some sales, but until you sell 50 books, you're not making profit. So the break-even point again is how many units do I have to sell or how much of a service do I have to give out until the cost that I have put into the business is recouped. That's how I want you to think about break-even point in a practical way. And let me hear from you how you apply this in your own way, in your own business. Well,
brought to you by Africa School of Entrepreneurship.
Follow Dr. Maxwell Ampon and the Entrepreneur in You series right here on Mondays and Thursdays on the Joy News channel, on Radio Joy FM, and on all our social media platforms. That's it for Prime Business with me, Emma Davis. For more business news, do log on to myjoyonline.com. I leave you with international business.